Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and as you can see, we're by ourselves today again, which means if you've joined us live, please drop a comment. Let me know you're here, say hello, and also chime in with your insights about the questions we're about to answer about how to grow, how to create more success for your consulting practice, whether you're a solo, whether you're working in a small team, or growing all the way into a boutique. We start with questions that have been submitted. And thank you to those who have sent us questions via email or via LinkedIn. It's always helpful for our team to receive them in advance, and that way we can get started on time. So with that said, Jaren, can you please put up the first question for today? Thank you. Okay, this question is from Jen. Jen says, I reached out to an industry colleague I've known through business dealings for over 20 years. I included a brief bullet point list of my services, my website address, and a request for any introductions to companies that might benefit from my offerings. Okay, great. In response, I was asked to send rates. How should I respond to her in a way that it's professional and maintains control over the conversation without sending rates while still keeping the door open for potential opportunities? All right. Thank you. And hello, John. And hello, Preston. Thank you for joining live. All right. Great question, Jen. Congrats on good relationships, on getting the ball in motion, and also on good instincts, right? On saying no to their request for a rate card, which is tempting, right? Because we take it to signal that somebody wants to know more about our practice or wants to find the right folks to introduce us. Not so much, right? It won't pay off over the long term. So your instinct is the right one. You can say something like, look, over the years, we found that best practices that we scope projects knowing what the specific context of the engagement with it, and through direct conversation, and we set our fees based on the value we will deliver through the engagement. What that means, and for those reasons, we do not have rate cards to share. However, more than happy to meet with folks to explore what they need and how we can support them. That's one way. If you're pressed, and sometimes people will press, what type of consulting you do, or they're trying to approximate or use rate as a proxy of what type of firm you're running. You can give example of recurring projects without giving any numbers. And that sounds something like saying, look, a project like this, say, or recent project we have completed begins mid 5 figures to low 6 figure range, and or whatever the range is for your firm, Jen. And that way you've given folks an idea of magnitude, and you're not married to a single number. So keep that in mind for folks, not only people that want to introduce you to others, but also when you're in very early conversations with prospects, or where you're at conferences and you're introducing your firm, and sometimes people will really press, you can give them a sense of what it would take to work with you without giving them specific numbers. And at the same time, anchor yourself around value-based fees if that's your fee setting methodology, which we certainly encourage you to have. And hello, Aaron. Welcome. Okay, Jaren, unless you all want to add to the discussion, Jaren, then let's move on to the next question. Jen, let me know if that gets you settled. All right, Chris says, I am working with a new client and trust building isn't going well. He's not a strategic thinker, and we need to plan the first half of the year. When we speak, he focuses on negatives and small things. Meanwhile, I'm trying to help him think about the bigger picture. Okay, how do I help him focus on the bigger strategy so we can map 2025 out, Chris? That's an interesting question. And that is a challenge. So good on you, Chris, for recognizing that. Good on you for recognizing how you're maybe talking at two different levels. It happens more often than we think, particularly with people who are new to us or in that aspect of relationship building. And sometimes all it takes is that aha moment that it seems you just had, right? To say, what's happening is I'm talking big strategy and this person likes to talk details, or the other way around, right? You're talking process and details and the other person is really wanting to talk strategy. So good on you for recognizing that. So first suggestion for you, Chris, get everything on the table. So get all the details. This person is detail oriented. Ask them what their concerns, what their thoughts are, and take down the details. And once they have done that, then you can prompt them, okay, now let's take a step back. What about the bigger picture? What do we need at a higher level? That's often enough for folks to recognize and to feel heard and understood by you, and to say, okay, if we put all these pieces that you both of you presumably just talked about together, what does the bigger picture look like? You're tending an invitation, right? So resist the temptation to go through each detail item or as the counterpart or as your client is mentioning them in conversation, right? Get them all on the table, all in one. You want to be able to see all the pieces, because otherwise you're going to run out of time and you are going to run out of the ability to get a bigger strategic insight out of the conversation. That's one path, right? All the details out, then zoom out, hopefully through an invitation. Another framing that may work for you is to ask them to step kind of like take a leap into the future and then look back. So pose a question in a way that challenges their thinking. What does good look like for you a year from now, right? If you were a year from now and you were to look back, what needs to have happened to have made you happy? That's typically a question that will trigger some more strategic thinking or some more form of, okay, how does this all come together if I'm going to look back at a point in the future, right? Put myself at a point in the future, look back, how does it all come together? So what you're doing in both examples, and I encourage you to find your own words for it, is creating space for your client to feel validated, to feel listened to feel appreciated, and at the same time, to stretch a little bit into the other level of thinking, right? To stretch a little bit out of their day-to-day, which they're probably immersed on with good reason, and come to join you in a more big picture, abstract 2025 thinking way. All right, Chris, let me know if that helps. And if you all have any other idea or comments, and hello, Renee, thank you for joining us as well, then please feel free. Same thing, right? If you have a question, if you have an open item or something where I can help with and the rest of the folks who are here can help with as well, put them in the comment. It takes me a minute to see them, but happy to get to those as well. All right, Jaren, let's try and go for one more question. Okay, so this question is from Alan, and Alan says, over the holidays, I decided that my very long-term plan for my boutique firm, I assume, is to sell it rather than just retire it and leave it to the next generation of leaders that are rising through the ranks. Knowing that you have experience helping firm owners sell, what advice do you have for me now, given that I am at least 6 to 8 years removed from a sale? All right, Alan, good prompt. And also, we have a book of advice for you, right? A whole book, and sometimes these are whole 2-3 year engagements that we work on with firms on, right? So it does take time to build a firm to sell it, particularly to a third party, right? And also, it does take time to leave it as a well-oiled machine for the next generation. This is a long conversation because there's a lot of macro decision and that then trigger into investments or micro decisions where owners can make, as to when do they make the investments, what does the final picture look like, what does success look like, and then you start triggering them over time. For now, Alan, I would invite you to think about perhaps 3 elements. The first one is continuity in revenue. And I don't mean revenue from a single client, but if we were to look at your revenue 6 to 8 years from now, or to look back, how does your revenue trajectory as a firm look like? Is there a continuity? Or have you gone through cycles of feast and famine, feast and famine? You want to smooth it out as much as you can, and you also want to create a growth story for your firm, presuming that you want to sell it to a third party, especially also if you want to transfer it internally. So what is your revenue story? Where's continuity in revenue? Another element also tied to revenue, the second element, is the health of your revenue portfolio. And by that, we mean you want enough diversification in your revenue portfolio, both from different clients and clients that are new to you versus have stayed with you over time, right? So you want to look at your client portfolio from a different perspective and how that revenue matches your client. You also want to look at your revenue portfolio from a combination of offerings. And ideally, you have some bread and butter offerings that your firm can deliver very efficiently, and some high margin offerings and some newer, more innovative offerings coming into play. So continuity of revenue is number 1. Perhaps the health of your revenue portfolio is number 2. And the third one, which is a key piece of it, is your firm's ability to continuously and profitably deliver value. So basically, if you're familiar with our 4-part consulting firm model, start asking yourself, how do you build a firm that doesn't need you to keep the cycle between winning engagements and profitably creating value spinning, and that can make it spin even faster without you? So there's an element in there of taking you out of the equation of both generating revenue and the quality of the revenue that gets generated, and profitably delivering value, and of that cycle spinning faster and faster, that will help you a ton at the time when you actually decide to sell it, or even if you decide to leave it, right, to the next generation within your firm. What pieces out of that thinking can you put in place today? And what types of investments do you need to put into your firm so that you can start growing and training your next generation of rainmakers, perhaps, or you can start systemizing and creating a homogeneous quality in your delivery that it's absolutely reliable and that empowers that cycle to spin faster. So food for thought for you, Adam. I hope that helps, but also let me know, right? Because this is an ongoing conversation and a very interesting one. There's also considerations as to the size of the firm and all of that, but we won't get into that today. Maybe at a next time or outside of a LinkedIn Live. But for now, that's a good spot to perhaps end. And with that, we're almost coming at the end of our 15 minutes. So we have a couple of prompts for you, as we have every week. If you haven't already, please add, I think we had the first one, Jaren, it's Monday Live, right? Thank you. So please add the URL that Jaren has just put, davidaffields.com/Monday Live, to your calendars. It will bring us here. It will bring you here every week. So wherever LinkedIn creates for us, you're sure to join us. And that way you are sure you can get your questions answered every week on Mondays. And the next one is, if you haven't yet subscribed to the articles that come out every Wednesday, davidaffields.com/subscribe, you will get not only an article that it's full of tactical and practical advice, but you will also get to join in the conversation. The illustrations are fun and the comments are very insightful, and the back and forth in the discussion, it's really insightful as well. And people find it extremely valuable. So join us there as well. And lastly, I know We probably don't have it in here, but it's been a while since we prompted you to connect with us. I know David would love it if you connect with him on LinkedIn. I love it as well. If you haven't done so already, please click the connect button and connect with both of us. Oh, thank you, Jaren, you found it. Appreciate that. So connect with us as well. We love getting to know you and get to know about your practices. And remember that consulting, it's about them, right? It's about creating success for your clients, for your team members, for your firms, and in that, creating success for you. So thank you for joining us. See you next week. Bye.